There's a difference between I was broken and I found God and I wanted a man, so I found God's algorithm. Not the same thing. Hello everyone, my name is Naya and welcome to season 7 of Let Me Just Say This. I hope you guys are doing so well. If you are new here, hello, hey, welcome to the vibe, welcome to the tribe. Go ahead and subscribe because you are going to love it here. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, as you should, you already know, you see me, I see you, you look good. Girl, me too. Honestly, y'all, this topic for today has been something that has been on my mind for like the past year, and I've been towing the line about making this video, but it is actually prime time because if you don't know who Talitha Jane is, baby, you're gonna find out today. However, this episode is not a bashing episode for one particular creator, but it is an overarching commentary of the Christian influencer pipeline and the patterns we've been seeing specifically with the girls, specifically with the women in this space. And baby, as a Christian woman, I think we should go ahead and get into it. But before we do, you already know, go and get your mug and fill it up with whatever you like and come back so we can kiki. And of course, I have to give a shout out to our sponsors, Black Girl Vitamins and NordVPN. You can shop the links in the description and use code LMJST15 to save 15% on your next Black Girl Vitamins order, baby. Protect that body and protect that internet connection, girl. For those of you who don't know who Talitha Jane is, let me introduce you. And if you do know, then you already know why we're here, girl.
And this is not for the believers who are still very new in their faith. This is for the women who have been in there, who are in it. I do not want this to come off as judgmental or condemning, but at what point does modesty come into the picture? Because I am someone who has done such a huge transformation in my life and my walk with Christ, and specifically how I dress, I just want to hold other women accountable.
You can't hold people accountable for personal convictions. I feel like today everybody be so performative. Everybody want to be the most righteous. You know what I'm saying? Everybody trying to preach. Everybody trying to hold each other accountable. Let me tell you, you're not doing it right. And it's confusing because even Talitha, which I like her, but it's like, on Instagram, you still got posts a bikini in the Bible. I didn't know that was modest.
And I think it's important with this whole Talitha Jane, like modesty, when does modesty come into the picture, like conversation. I think it's very important to know. That modesty only came into the picture for her because she wanted a man. She wanted to acquire a man. That's why modesty came into the picture for her. And that's why she's judging other women who have men, by the way. And I find that very interesting because instead of walking like in your faith and trusting, you know, God and everything and the journey that he's taking you on and enjoying your relationship with God and what he has planned for you, you're taking time outside of your journey and starting to project onto other women who have their own journey because you still have not found a man.
Modesty is supposed to be for you and only you. When you start doing it for other reasons, like to impress other people, or because you think it's going to render you different results in the dating market, or you think it's going to make men respect you more or look at you in a better light than they look at other women, you're doing it for the wrong reason, and it's performative.
Talitha Jane is a self-described Christian influencer on TikTok, and her content primarily centers around faith, modest fashion, Christian dating, and her spiritual journey, getting closer to Christ. And she's been on this journey for like a few years now, and her content has evolved from something else to this. So she hasn't always been a Christian influencer. And it's worth acknowledging that the discourse around Talitha Jane has followed her for over a year, and it's coming from Black people, Black Christians, Black women, because that is her audience. Now, this is not Talitha Jane's first viral moment when it comes to her spiritual journey. She was the subject of TikTok discourse before when it came out that she had told her followers that God led her to move to Houston, that he called her to make this leap and move to Houston with very little planning. And come to find out, she actually moved for a man who subsequently did not like her that much.
Story time on why I moved to Houston for a man.
You know, I don't think the problem is you moved to another state for a man. The girlies are not mad about that. The girlies are mad because you sold them a dream. You sold them this lifestyle that you spoke to God about this, and you're making a change for yourself, and you're moving to this whole next state because you really and truly believe like this is something that you need to do to better yourself and to get closer to yourself, to start your healing journey. But the whole time you picked Houston for some dingling.
Y'all be so quick to say that God led you to a decision, that God led you to make this choice. God showed you that that was your husband. God showed you that you need to make this major move for him, that this is the one for you. God showed you that. You know what? You are right. Your God showed you, because that man is your God. That man that you want to be in relationship with, that man is your God. You praise him, you serve him, and you do what he asks you to do. You treat him like he is your God. And it breaks my heart when I see situations like this, because so many women are trained to serve a man like a god rather than being told to be in partnership with one.
Over the past few years, there's been an increase in Christian influencers. There's been an increase in women specifically shifting to this religious-focused content and religious-focused lifestyle. And in my honest opinion, a lot of it is performative. I think a lot of it is performative, not to say that they don't have relationships with God, not to say that they're not actually religious, but the things that they put on social media to showcase that and share that, I think has become performative. And I've always thought to myself, okay, how did we get here? Like, how do these girls go from what they were doing before to what they're doing now? And why do they always end up in such similar places when it comes to this? I think the answer is that it's a pipeline from patriarchy to the desire to be more marriageable, the desire to be coupled, the desire to be chosen. There are a lot of respectability politics that come into play with this, specifically for Black women and Black women that exist in a space where they have to present a certain way in order to be more worthy of marriage, more worthy of being couples, more worthy of partnership. And when you tack on the religious aspect, specifically the Christian aspect of things, it's like that respectability politics goes through the roof. It goes through the roof. I think a lot of the Christian influencer girlies went down a pipeline from what I thought was going to get me a man did not work. So now I'm going to turn Christian, hyper religious, and more virtuous and more modest, and then a man will deem me more worthy. And the concession prize for this, the proof in the pudding of this, is they get engaged, they get married, they end up in relationships. And it's like, oh yeah, this is what works. And the message, both spoken and unspoken, is that her value is tied to whether a good man chooses her, whether a good Christian man chooses her. I think the problem with idolizing these Christian influencers is that some women will look at this as a framework for promising results. They say to themselves, if I'm more God-fearing, if I'm more modest, if I'm more pure, then a man will find me worthy. Then I will be more worthy of being a wife, of being coupled, of companionship, of someone treating me with respect and care. And the idea that you'll attract the right type of man if you are a more godly woman, I think is a trap that too many women fall into, and it results in them going down this Christian pipeline that is ultimately disingenuous. Seeking God to become more marriageable is not the same as seeking God. If the motivations are external, if the motivations are a man, a relationship, validation, to be chosen, then ultimately it's disingenuous. Ultimately, seeking God is really about self-transformation. It's about becoming a better person. It's about growing your own relationship with Christ for the sake of you, not for the sake of wanting other people to accept you or view you or choose you in a certain way. And of course, faith comes through people being hit with hard seasons in their life. A lot of people get their testimony from rough times in their life. And I think some women's testimony is related to that man when it should not be. That's all I'm saying. There's a difference between I was broken and I found God and I wanted a man, so I found God's algorithm. Not the same thing. And consistency plays a role as well. People are calling out Talitha Jane and other Christian influencers because in some aspects of their life, they're hardlining Christianity and holding other people accountable to their personal convictions, but not necessarily holding themselves as accountable. You know, her modesty content, she has like some modesty content, but other content that people may deem immodest. And to me, modesty is very subjective to who you think you're talking to. You know, some people may think that, okay, if you wear a crop top, oh, that's immodest. Other people, like, girl, nobody cares. You know, it's fine. Show your stomach. But I think that you set yourself up for this type of thing when you decide to hold other people accountable to your own personal convictions. Now they're going to be nitpicking everything that you do. When you come to God through performance, you want everybody else to do that same tap dance with you. You want everybody else to do that same 1-2 step. And that's the problem, baby, is that that's actually not what it's about. And it's easy to call out. It's easy to poke holes in. There's a massive judgment problem in the Christian community, and it's nothing new. It's nothing new, but because we have social media, people get to get on the internet with it now. It's not just every Sunday at church you're getting judged by what clothes you wore, or if you're in a relationship or not, or if you're doing whatever with your life. Now you can open up your phone and have somebody on your screen telling you why you're not a good enough Christian, why you're a lukewarm Christian, why you need to dress more modestly, or else you're not doing it the right way. The big thing about this is when you're introduced to God in the wrong way by the wrong people, it pushes you away from the church. It pushes you away from God. I don't think that everybody needs to be on these apps talking about Christianity. Not everybody needs to go on their faith journey and then all of a sudden turn into a Christian influencer and start telling people how they need to live their lives. Okay? Who you receive your messages from is very, very, very important. And a lot of people are walking through life not necessarily just choosing not to be Christian or not to be religious, but actively going against it because of how somebody introduced it to them. And I really hate that for the girls. And again, this episode isn't about Talitha Jane as a person, even though I think she makes for a good case study. This episode is about what happens when you build a faith identity on a foundation that was never really about God in the first place. And for my fellow Christians out there, being Christian does not have to be your entire identity. It doesn't have to be your entire personality. If you do content, you don't have to be a Christian content creator. You can be a content creator that's Christian. You don't have to be a Christian influencer. You can be an influencer that's also Christian, and it can be a part of your identity. And I think also too, you don't have to share all of that with everybody. You don't have to impose that with everybody. You don't have to perform every time and prove that you're a good Christian. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Just stand in your own personal convictions for your own life. A genuine relationship with God does not require an audience. It doesn't require a performance or a brand or even standards for other people. It's about you. Standards for yourself, convictions for yourself, and if it's your family as well. But baby, outside of that, it's not about other people. And as a Christian, the moment your convictions become weapons, it is worth taking a step back and asking yourself, WWJD, is this Christ-like behavior? If Jesus was standing right in front of me, what would he say to me? What would he say to me? Yeah, I need y'all to start asking yourselves that question more often, because it is too easy to weaponize your convictions and forget that Jesus actually wouldn't fool with none of that. And I think we keep having these conversations on social media because a lot of people are just seeking understanding. A lot of people are just seeking, grace and compassion for the differences in how we practice our religion, the differences in how we practice Christianity, without that feeling of judgment, without that feeling of having to be a certain way, having to look a certain way, having to, act a certain way. A lot of people are just looking to be able to exist and not have these Christian influencers get on their phones and tell them, hey, yeah, you need to be doing this if you want to be a good Christian. I want to close with a little bit of grace because there really are a lot of content creators and influencers who are also Christian and have a very genuine relationship with their community when it comes to sharing the love of God and sharing their relationship with God and their spiritual journey on their platforms. And I do think that a lot of people are seeking out religion, not even just Christianity, but religion with a genuine heart. But I do believe that performative Christian influencing is absolutely a thing. And I think there is a pipeline to it. There is a method to this madness. If you came to God seeking a man, that is your story. That is wholeheartedly your story. Nobody can take from that. But I really do hope at some point that you find your way to God for you and not somebody else. I know this was a little bit of a heavier episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys resonated with this. If you have any questions for me or if you want to support, you already know what to do. I'll see you in the comments. You can follow on all the socials. Everything will be linked in the description. See you guys in the next one.